The woman in the road. I killed someone on New Year's Eve. At least, I think I did. The thing is, I don't know if she was even human. Let me explain. This happened 7 years ago. I was driving home with my girlfriend Duda after a New Year's party. It was well past midnight, maybe 1:30 a.m. The roads were empty, just us and the falling snow turning everything into a white void. We were about 10 minutes from her place when I saw her. At first, my headlights caught nothing but empty road. Then, between one blink and the next, there was a woman standing in the middle of the street. Not crossing, not walking, just standing there, facing us, waiting. My brain couldn't process it fast enough. I slammed the brakes, tires screaming on the ice, and that's when I saw what she was holding. A knife. Not some pocket knife. A massive butcher's blade, the kind you'd use to carve through bone. It hung at her side, catching my headlights like a mirror. Her face. God, her face. It was twisted into something that wasn't quite crying, wasn't quite screaming. Her mouth was open too wide, stretched into a silent howl. And her eyes were completely black. No whites, no iris, just two holes boring into my windshield. I yanked the wheel right. The car fishtailed on the ice. And she lunged. The knife came down on my hood with a metallic clang that echoed through the car. I heard Duda scream, felt the tires lose grip. We were spinning the world, becoming a blur of white and black in those horrible empty eyes. The car spun 180 degrees. When we stopped, we were facing back the way we'd come. Facing her. She was 30 feet away, illuminated in my headlights like something from a nightmare. Her clothes were torn and filthy, hanging off her skeletal frame. Her hair was matted with something dark blood, maybe, or mud. And she was limping toward us. Not walking, limping, dragging one leg behind her with this awful scraping sound against the asphalt. But she was fast, impossibly fast, for someone that injured. She was making sounds, not words, not anything human, just this guttural, animal shrieking that seemed to vibrate inside my skull. Go! 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 Duda was screaming, pounding my shoulder. I couldn't move. I was frozen, watching this thing that looked like a woman but moved like something wearing a woman's skin getting closer and closer. 20 feet. 15. 10. I threw the car in drive. The tires spun uselessly on the ice for what felt like hours but was probably 2 seconds. Then they caught, and we lurched forward. I thought we were safe. I was wrong. She threw herself onto the hood. The impact rocked the entire car. Duda screamed. I cursed, and this woman, this thing was clinging to my hood with one hand, the knife raised high in the other. She started stabbing. Crack, crack, crack. The windshield spiderwebbed under each blow. I could see her face pressed against the glass now, inches away. Her mouth was still open in that silent scream, but her eyes were locked on mine, staring, unblinking, and she was smiling. I swerved hard left, then right, then left again. She slid across the hood, but held on, that knife coming down over and over, each impact sending cracks spreading across the glass like frozen lightning. Her face never left mine, never blinked, just stared and smiled and stabbed. On the fourth swerve, she finally lost her grip. I watched in the rearview mirror as she tumbled off the hood and hit the pavement hard. Her body rolled twice before sliding into the shoulder and going still. I kept driving. Duda was hyperventilating beside me, but I couldn't look at her. I kept my eyes on the rearview mirror, watching that crumpled shape on the side of the road. And then it moved. She sat up, slowly, mechanically, like a puppet being pulled upright by invisible strings. She turned her head toward my retreating car. Even from that distance, even in the darkness, I could see her smile. She waved, a slow, deliberate wave, like she was saying goodbye to an old friend. Don't stop, Duda whispered. Don't you dare stop. I didn't. We drove straight to her place. Didn't call the police. Didn't tell anyone. Duda said they'd blame us. We'd been drinking. It was our word against evidence of a hit and run. She made it sound logical. But I think we both knew the real reason we didn't call. We didn't call because we weren't sure what we'd hit. I checked the news obsessively for weeks. Nothing. No reports of a body. No missing woman. No hit-and-run investigation. It's like she never existed. Except my windshield still has a tiny crack I never got fixed. Sometimes, late at night, I trace it with my finger and remember those black eyes staring into mine. And I wonder if she's still out there, still standing in the middle of dark roads, still waiting, the girl who wasn't there. I slept with a ghost on New Year's Eve. I know how that sounds. Trust me, I've spent 5 years trying to convince myself of literally any other explanation. But here's the thing, I have a witness. My roommate Garrett saw her too. And then she vanished from a locked apartment with no way out. New Year's Eve, 5 years ago. I was at this massive house party in the Hollywood Hills. The kind where you don't know whose house it is. You just know everyone's there. I was outside on the deck around 11 p.m., trying to escape the noise when I saw her. She was standing alone at the railing, looking out over the city lights. Long, dark hair, vintage dress that looked like it was from the 1960 seconds. She seemed separate from the party, like she existed in a different frequency. Not a fan of crowds either? I asked. She turned and smiled, and I swear the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Something like that, she said. Her voice had this distant quality, like she was speaking from the bottom of a well. We talked for hours. Her name was May. She was an artist from San Diego, up for the weekend. She had this way of looking at me, really looking like she could see through all the bullshit. Around 1 a.m., the party was dying down. I asked if she needed a ride home. I don't have anywhere to go, she said. Not sad, just matter of fact. So I invited her back to my apartment. Garrett was already home, and I introduced them. He seemed weirded out, gave me this look I couldn't quite read. May and I stayed up talking until almost 4 a.m. She told me about her art, her family, her dreams, detailed specific things. At some point, we ended up in my bed. Not like that, just talking, fully clothed, until we both fell asleep. When I woke up around 10 a.m., she was gone. I figured she'd left early, didn't want to wake me. But when I walked into the living room, Garrett was sitting on the couch with this white, terrified expression. "Where's May?" he asked. "She left." "No." He stood up. "No, she didn't. I've been awake since 7. I'm a light sleeper. No one left this apartment. Maybe you dozed off. The door is still deadbolted from the inside." He pointed. "The chain is on. The windows are locked." I checked. My stomach dropped. We tore apart my room looking for, I don't know what, a note? Some explanation? There was nothing. Not a hair. Not a trace. Like she'd never been there. Except Garrett had seen her. Talked to her. He described her perfectly. The vintage dress. The long dark hair. The way she seemed slightly out of focus. "What did you think of her?" I asked. He was quiet for a long moment. "Dude," she felt wrong. Like, the whole time she was here, I had this feeling in my stomach. Like being near something that wasn't supposed to exist. I started investigating. Searched her name online. Checked Instagram, Facebook, everything. Nothing matched. The details she'd given me, the street she grew up on, her high school, her art collective, none of it existed. But here's what really fucked me up. About a week later, I was at a bookstore in Silver Lake. I pulled down this book on local history, and there was a photograph inside. A photograph from 1966. It showed a group of young artists at an exhibition opening, and there in the back row was May. Same face, same dress, same distant smile. The caption read, "Maya Trent, 22, who died in a car accident on New Year's Eve, 1966. My hands started shaking so badly I dropped the book. I went back with Garrett a week later to get another copy, to prove I wasn't insane. The book was gone. The store clerk said they'd never carried anything on local art history. Every year on New Year's Eve, I stay home. I keep the door locked and the lights off. Because last year, exactly at midnight, someone knocked on my door. 3 slow knocks. I looked through the peephole. She was standing there. Same dress, same smile. She waved. I didn't open the door. I stood there, frozen, for what felt like hours. When I finally looked again, she was gone. But on my doormat, there was a single dried rose, and a note in handwriting I recognized. Thank you for that night. See you next year. Asterisk, asterisk. The boy on the frozen lake. My father doesn't believe in ghosts. But there's one night he refuses to talk about one New Year's Eve that made him sell a property he loved and never go back to Vermont. He only told me the story once, and only because I found the photograph. Before I was born, my parents owned a ski lodge in Vermont on the edge of a frozen lake. They'd go up there with their friends Victor and Lisa, drink, ski, escape the city. New Year's Eve, sometime in the early 90s. Mom and Lisa were away at a wedding, so Dad and Victor went up alone to ring in the new year. They were upstairs, drinking beer and watching the snow fall over the lake, waiting for the Times Square countdown on the radio. Then the light came. Dad said it wasn't like lightning. Lightning comes from above. This light came from across the lake, ground level, and it was so bright it turned night into day for 3 full seconds. No sound, just silent, blinding light. They both jumped up. Victor went to the window and froze. There's someone out there, he said. Impossible, Dad said. There's nothing on that side of the lake, just woods. But Victor was already pulling on his coat. They made it to the back deck when they heard it. Help! Help! A child's voice, young, maybe 7 or 8 years old, screaming from somewhere on the frozen lake. The lake had been frozen solid for months. They didn't hesitate. They ran out onto the ice, flashlights cutting through the darkness. About 50 yards out, Dad saw him. A small figure standing motionless on the ice. A little boy in old-fashioned clothing, the kind you'd see in photographs from the 1952. Short pants, suspenders, a collared shirt. In the middle of winter, on a frozen lake, at midnight. Hey, Dad shouted. Are you okay? Are you hurt? The boy turned to face them and smiled. Then, the second flash came. This one was even brighter. Dad said he had to drop to his knees and cover his face. The light was so intense it burned through his closed eyelids. He could feel heat on his skin. When it faded and he opened his eyes, the boy was gone. Just empty ice and snow. Go! Go back! Victor was screaming, grabbing Dad's coat, pulling him back toward the house. They ran. Dad said he was slipping, falling, scrambling on his hands and knees. Victor was ahead of him when he suddenly stopped and pointed up at the house. He's in the window. He's inside. Dad looked up. In the upstairs window, the same window they'd been sitting at 5 minutes ago, a small figure stood watching them. A little boy. Same old-fashioned clothes. Same smile. He waved. They burst through the back door and searched every room, every closet, every corner. Nothing. All the doors were locked from the inside. All the windows were shut. No footprints in the snow except their own. They went to bed, but neither of them slept. Dad woke up twice that night. Both times, he heard a child laughing somewhere in the house. Not playful laughter. The kind of laughter you hear in nightmares, high-pitched, echoing, wrong. The next morning, they left. Didn't pack, didn't clean up, just got in the car and drove straight back to the city. Dad sold the property 2 weeks later. Never told Mom why. Never went back to Vermont. He kept one photograph from that trip, the one I found in his desk drawer when I was 15. It shows the frozen lake at sunset. Beautiful, peaceful. Except in the bottom corner, if you look closely, there's a small figure standing on the ice. A little boy in old-fashioned clothing, staring directly at the camera. I asked Dad about it once. He looked at the photo for a long time, then put it back in the drawer. "I didn't take that picture," he said. "The camera was inside the whole time." Last year, on New Year's Eve, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. Just breathing at first. Then a child's voice. "Help! Help!" Followed by laughter. I deleted it immediately, but it's saved in my phone's trash folder. And sometimes, late at night, I can hear it playing.